In the heart of a small, sun-baked village called Abam, where the wind carried the scent of dried palm leaves and the distant laughter of children echoed across the dusty roads, lived a young man named Emmanuel. His life was simple, like the clay houses that dotted the landscape, and yet his dreams were anything but ordinary. Emmanuel was known in the village not for wealth, he had none, but for a quiet strength that shimmered in his dark eyes. While other young men spent their days tending farms or fishing in the nearby river, Emmanuel often sat under the baobab tree at the village square, sketching plans in the sand. Some villagers whispered that he was foolish, chasing dreams too big for a boy born into nothing. But Emmanuel's heart refused to listen to whispers. From a young age, he had imagined a school for the children of Abam. A place where every child, rich or poor, boy or girl, could learn to read, write, and dream. The village had no school, only the dusty paths of ignorance and the fading memory of a teacher who had left decades ago. But Emmanuel saw the possibilities beyond the clay walls, beyond the limited futures of his people. Every morning, he would rise before the sun, helping his mother fetch water from the river, and every evening, he would sit beneath the fading light, drawing sketches of a school with books, desks, and a bright, wide courtyard. "Emmanuel," the village elders would say, shaking their heads, "dreams will not feed you. Dreams will not pay your mother's debts. Dreams will not stop your little sister from going hungry." He would only smile, his gaze fixed on the horizon, as though the sun itself whispered promises of a better future. But dreams, Emmanuel learned, were never given freely. One day, he approached the village chief, Chief Okonkwo, a stern man whose eyes were as sharp as the cutlass he carried. Emmanuel knelt, as tradition demanded, and spoke. "Chief, I wish to build a school, a place for every child in Abam to learn." Chief Okonkwo's laugh was like the crack of thunder over dry fields. "Build a school?" he scoffed. "Do you have gold? Do you have land? Or do you wish for me to give you the clouds and the wind?" "I have nothing, chief, but I have a dream," Emmanuel replied. The elders muttered among themselves. Some shook their heads, others rolled their eyes. "Foolish boy," they said. "This village will eat you alive if you chase such things." Yet Emmanuel did not falter. Night after night, he went from hut to hut, asking families for small donations. Some gave food, some gave coins, and some shook their heads and told him to leave them alone. The work was grueling. Villagers laughed behind his back. The rains washed away his sketches. Termites gnawed at the few materials he had gathered. But Emmanuel kept drawing, kept asking, and most importantly, kept believing. One evening, as Emmanuel sat under the baobab, his little sister, Adaku, came to him with a piece of cloth she had saved from a torn shirt. "Brother," she said, her eyes shining, "take this. Use it for your school." Emmanuel took the cloth and hugged her, tears streaking his dusty cheeks. He realized then that dreams were not built from gold alone. They were built from love, persistence, and the belief that even small acts could ignite change. News of Emmanuel's determination began to spread beyond Abam. A merchant passing through offered a few bags of cement. A teacher from a neighboring village promised to volunteer her time once the building was ready. Slowly, one by one, people started believing, not just in the dream, but in Emmanuel. The next months were the hardest Emmanuel had ever faced. The rains came in torrents, washing away the foundations of the little structure he had managed to raise. Stones tumbled, mud walls cracked, and the villagers began to murmur again. "You see, boy," said one elder, pointing at the ruined walls, "the earth itself rejects your dream." Even some of his closest friends began to question him. "Emmanuel," one said quietly one evening, "maybe it is time to give up. No one listens. No one helps. The village is not ready for this." But Emmanuel's resolve was like iron. Each night, when the wind howled through the trees, he would sit under the baobab with Ataku, looking at the stars. "I will not stop," he whispered. "Even if I must build this school with my bare hands, it will stand. For the children. For Abum. For the dreams that the world forgot." Then came the sabotage. One morning, Emmanuel arrived to find the few walls he had raised toppled, the wood burned, and a small pile of building materials scattered. Someone in the village had deliberately destroyed his work. He fell to his knees, the dust clinging to his skin, and tears streaming down his face. For the first time, he allowed himself a moment of despair. "Why, God? Why must it be this hard?" Ataku, now 13 but wise beyond her years, took his hand. "Brother, if your dream dies now, who will give the children hope? If not you, then who?" Her words struck him like a lightning bolt. Emmanuel rose, dirt falling from his worn clothes. He could almost hear the whispers of generations before him, those who had dared to dream and had been ignored. And yet, here he was, still alive, still determined. The first miracle came in an unexpected form. A wealthy trader from the city, Mr. Adebayo, had been visiting Abum to buy palm oil. Seeing Emmanuel's determination and hearing of the sabotage, he offered to fund part of the school. "You have a rare heart, boy," he said, placing a heavy bag of coins and a small stack of timber in Emmanuel's hands. "Many would have given up. Not you." Word spread like wildfire. Families who had once mocked Emmanuel began bringing clay, sand, and labor. Even the elders who had doubted him offered advice and help, realizing that the boy's dream was bigger than any grudge or skepticism. And slowly, almost magically, the walls began to rise again. The school was no longer Emmanuel's dream alone, it had become the village's dream. Children began gathering near the site, their laughter ringing out like a promise. They painted the walls with bright colors, made little signs for the classrooms, and even created a small library of donated books. Yet, Emmanuel's journey was far from smooth. There were nights he doubted himself. Nights he wondered if the school would ever be finished, if his family would ever eat properly again, if his body could withstand the unending work. But every time doubt crept in, he thought of Ataku, of the little children who looked at him with eyes full of hope, and of the village that slowly began to believe. Each brick laid became a symbol of resistance against despair, each plank of wood a testament to human perseverance. Through storms, through ridicule, through exhaustion, Emmanuel's hands never stopped working. And in the quiet moments, when the village slept, he would whisper to the school walls, "I promise, little ones, I will not let this dream die." Finally, the day arrived. The school stood tall under the morning sun, its walls painted in warm colors, classrooms filled with books, and a small courtyard where children could play. Emmanuel, now weary but proud, cut the ribbon as the villagers cheered. Chief Okonkwo, standing beside him, was silent for a moment. Then he said with a deep nod, "You were right, Emmanuel. The dream was worth believing in." The children rushed in, their laughter and chatter filling every corner of the school. Mothers and fathers watched, tears streaming, realizing that one boy's determination had changed the destiny of their community forever. Years passed. Emmanuel became a teacher at the school he had built. Children who had once had no hope now dreamed of becoming doctors, engineers, teachers, and artists. The story of Emmanuel's determination spread beyond Abum, inspiring neighboring villages to chase their own dreams. And through it all, Emmanuel never stopped believing. For him, the dream was never about fame or recognition. It was about planting a seed of hope, nurturing it through struggle, and watching it grow into something that could not be destroyed. As he sat beneath the baobab tree many years later, surrounded by children laughing and learning, he whispered softly, "A dream is not alive because it exists. A dream is alive because we refuse to let it die." And so, Emmanuel's dream did not die. It lived on, in the hearts of every child, every villager, and every soul who heard his story. Not everyone in Album was happy with Emmanuel's rising influence. Among the villagers was Chaik, a young man from a wealthy family who had once expected to be the future leader of the community. Chaik saw Emmanuel's dream as a threat, a challenge to his authority. "You think you can change the village with a few walls and books?" Chaik sneered one evening, as the boys worked side by side hauling clay and timber. "No one remembers your parents. No one will follow you forever." Emmanuel didn't respond immediately. He looked at Chaik with calm eyes and said softly, "Change is not about who remembers me. It is about what we leave for those who come after us." Chaik laughed bitterly, but the words lingered. Deep down, even Chaik felt a spark of admiration he wouldn't admit. The village faced a harsh dry season. Crops failed, the river dried up, and food became scarce. Many villagers worried that helping Emmanuel was a mistake. Even Emmanuel's mother, Mama Nkechi, pleaded, her voice heavy with concern. "Emmanuel, my son, the children are hungry. You are tired, your hands are raw. Perhaps it is time to rest." But Emmanuel refused. "Mother, a school is not built for today alone. It is built for generations to come. If we stop now, all the hope we've planted will die." Despite exhaustion, he worked tirelessly, often waking before dawn to fetch water, mix mud, and lift heavy stones. One night, as he collapsed beneath the baobab tree, Attica handed him a small clay cup of water. "Brother," she said softly, "even if the world says no, your dream is saying yes." Amidst the struggle, Emmanuel found unexpected support in Amara, a young woman who had returned to Album after studying in the city. She became a teacher at the soon-to-be school, helping with lessons, teaching the children, and offering Emmanuel encouragement. "You have a heart bigger than this village, Emmanuel," she told him one evening, "and a dream stronger than the storms that try to break it." Their bond grew quietly, a gentle reminder that even amidst trials, love and hope could blossom. A neighboring village was preparing a festival when word of Emmanuel's project reached them. Inspired, they sent a group of volunteers to help. With new hands, the school walls rose faster, and the roof was completed just before the next rainy season. The village elders, who had doubted Emmanuel for months, were now openly praising him. Even Chaik, standing at the edge of the courtyard, nodded reluctantly. "You have done what I thought impossible," Chaik admitted. "Perhaps I judged too quickly." Emmanuel smiled. "Dreams do not ask for permission, Chaik. They only ask for persistence." The morning of the school's opening was filled with excitement and anticipation. The children, dressed in simple but neat clothing, carried small gifts for Emmanuel, a basket of fruits, a handmade chalkboard, and colorful drawings. Chief Okonkwo, standing proudly, gave Emmanuel a ceremonial staff as a symbol of the village's trust and gratitude. "Let this school remind us all that even the smallest among us can ignite great change," the chief said, voice thick with emotion. The ribbon was cut, and the children rushed in, their laughter filling every classroom. Emmanuel watched them, heart full, realizing that the dream he had nursed through hardship was no longer his alone. It belonged to the village, to every child who would learn, and to every soul inspired by the courage to persist. Years passed. Emmanuel and Amara married, raising their own children who grew up surrounded by the stories of determination, hope, and resilience. The school became a beacon for neighboring villages, drawing teachers, students, and even scholars from faraway towns. The village itself transformed. Families who had once struggled to survive now found work, knowledge, and opportunity through education. Even Chaik became one of Emmanuel's greatest supporters, leading initiatives to help other villages build schools. One evening, Emmanuel sat beneath the baobab tree, now older, his hands calloused but his spirit unbroken. Children gathered around him, eager for stories of courage and dreams. He looked at them, eyes glistening with tears, and said softly, "A dream is alive not because it exists in the mind, but because it lives in the heart of those who refuse to let it die. Let your dreams be brave. Let them endure. And let them inspire others to do the same." The children nodded, and the night sky above Abum seemed to shimmer brighter than ever, as if the stars themselves were applauding a boy who had dared to dream against all odds.